Well, hey, I just want to welcome everybody to another month webinar series here at Impact. And we are so excited today because we've had great experts in. I mean, we are the fastest growing webinar in the industry right now. We're pleased and blessed to be that. And I think it's due to the great guests we've had. And today we're going to take it another notch even higher. And that's by having advisor dynamic duo extraordinaire, Mr. David and Miss Deborah Bales in the office today. And so thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
You are our very first. You're our first advisor on the webinar. So thanks for coming in and talking and being open to share with us.
Well, good.
Wonderful.
Well, I tell you what, you couldn't have a better group because I think a lot of times, and David, you've been in the business a long time. You've been very successful. Ms. Deborah, you've seen kind of the wave of it, not only as a partner in the business and helping, but also as a spouse and watching, his emotions go up and down. And, so I think that's the reality is, as an entrepreneur, independent business owner, you have these very emotional roller coaster rides. Mm-hmm. And so, I think where we came in, 4 years ago now, I know you came in, we did an experience, which is our kind of intro recruiting event where we bring you in and we kind of talked about some challenges you were having and some problems. And you know how to close at the table. It was more really getting in front of the right people and then conveying a bigger brand and a bigger message to help you in the further events. Before we get into the event itself, can you just kind of talk a little bit about what the maturation process has been for your practice and the good and the bad, and kind of over the last 4 years, kind of how we've come and where we've come from?
Well, let's just kind of go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
1996, I graduated from law school, and I decided I wanted to be in the financial planning business rather than an attorney. So we started working with school systems around the state of Georgia, and our largest clients, the Forsyth County Board of Education, they've got 40 schools, and Deborah and my son do all the 403Bs for the teachers.
Okay.
And so we have expanded the practice. Instead of just mainly 403Bs for educators, I do individual financial planning for people who are getting ready to retire.
Right.
And we've done the gamut from dinner seminars to direct mail to referrals and the whole 9 yards. And a couple of years ago, I heard about the American Retirement Institute, not from here, but from somebody out in another broker out in the Midwest, and that's where everybody's at, pitching this idea. And so I talked to Jared, my broker here, or my contact here at Impact, and he said, oh, well, we can do that. We can do that. And so we went to Las Vegas this year, and they kind of rolled the program out, and we had one in March, and then we had another one in
April, had one in June, and we just finished one this week. And we started off doing mailers and Facebook. Mm-hmm. Well, the first one was just mailers only. Deborah's got the stats, and she'll talk to you about that just a little bit later, but we just did mailers.
Right.
The next one we did mailers again in April. And then the last one we added Facebook.
Right.
And we did this at a local junior college in Gainesville. And of the 40 participants that came in the 2 days, only one came from the mailer.
Wow.
All the rest came from Facebook. And social media is cheaper than mail.
Yeah, let me explain that to everybody that's listening, because, one thing that I think we're proud of is we do have some things that impact that no one else has. And one of those is we do have our own in-house direct mail team. So we data share. So we do direct mail very successfully in some markets and then others struggle. Just because it doesn't work doesn't mean that you get to give up and quit. You've got to find something that works. And I think that's an awesome thing I wanted to bring up, because I want to ask Ms. Deborah a question, because as David hears this new topic of, okay, here's the new shiny object, right? Comes back, I'm sure he's telling you, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do these college workshops. What is your emotional level? Because you have to watch, you're tracking the leads, you're talking to the clients a lot. You're dealing with the emotional level of David coming in and riding high and then also being frustrated. What were your emotions kind of about yet another lead strategy?
I was totally fine with that, because I think today's world is going towards the social media. And so I was totally good with that, and the response has been phenomenal.
Yeah, because you have your option of direct mail, which is where you guys started, but we also have a digital marketing team here at Impact, and so I believe we started talking to you a little bit about the opportunity, but it's a little different, as you saw, right? people respond to print a little differently than they do to digital, but it seems like, yes, the cost per lead, I think our national average is like $65 for a direct mail lead on average. And right now digital's costing about $50 an average. So $15 cheaper, which is phenomenal. But with the digital versus the direct mail, we had a bigger response. Did you have fall off? Because some people go digital and they go, man, you know what? I had a big fall off. We had a bunch of people respond, but no one showed up. What was y'all's experience kind of switching to digital for the first time and then having to deal with these new style prospects?
Well, we have a lot of people that registered and even confirmed, and then maybe only 50% actually show up.
Right. Now, you mentioned about 40. Now, you guys have had really good attendance actually at the event. Even though you've had some fall off. Is that pretty accurate?
Well, we had, like on the workshop Tuesday, we had 27 people register, 15 people in attendance, 11 buy-in units, but we got 8 appointments.
Wow. So so the quality was good.
Yes.
And the conversion ratio is nice. And then, David, how's that kind of, you getting these appointments set from that? That's 8 appointments. What's your conversion off those 8 look like?
I'll probably do business with about 3 to 4.
Okay.
And some people you can't help.
Sure.
And you just have to be honest up front. They have to have the funds to be able to invest, or they have to have a 401k or an IRA to roll it over. And if I can't help them, I'm just going to be very honest and say, there's really nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. You need to utilize your Social Security income and the pension that you have. But let's just say you sat down with 8 people. There's 4 of them that you probably can do something with. And once I go to the second step,
mm-hmm.
I probably close 75% of them. So, 8, you may end up with 3 sales.
Right. But of that, 4 opportunities are real at bats is what you're looking at is out of that 8, there's going to be some fall off, people without money,
right.
Something. And then there's 4 legitimate at bats. You feel like you're closing 75% of that. Now, one big thing that we deal with a lot, and it deals with return on investment and client acquisition costs and those things, average case size. Are you seeing the average case size be good in this? Are you seeing it lower? Where do you guys feel like you guys are sitting?
Actually, the average case size for us has been more.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
More than a dinner seminar. And, let's look at the 2 different demographics. A dinner seminar, 70-80% of the people that show up are looking for a free meal. They're not interested at all in what you have to say. And if you had 30 people show up for a free meal and you got 2 or 3 appointments, you were doing well. But with the social media workshop, and I promote these as an educational event.
Right.
It's not a seminar, it's an educational event, and they have a workbook, and it's a 2.5 to 3 hour process that we sit there and we go through all the different topics from taxes to Social Security to long-term care to different solutions for lifetime income and then different financial tools. It takes about 2.5 hours. So if somebody has sat and listened to me for 2.5 hours and they sign a paper that says, yes, I want an appointment, then they have a reason to be there.
Right.
There's no hidden agenda. There's no bait and switch. And I'd rather work with smaller numbers who have a reason to be there than 30 people and 20 of them are just there for a free meal at Ruth Chris.
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners, they're all advisors. So they've all felt, wow, am I investing well when 90% of the room doesn't even really fit my ideal look? And then I'm paying for food. And so I think everybody doing dinner seminars and the industry has really done a bad job of innovating. It's like you got dinner seminars, and then after that you can buy some leads. And then after that, you got to go kind of figure it out. We talked about that when you guys come in. And so for our listeners, just know that, being a consumer today is very different than 20 years ago. So when you look at the advisors, you're looking for an educator, not a salesperson. And then consumers have showed their trends are going much more higher towards these educational processes when done well. So you mentioned the workbooks, very professional workbooks. At Impact, just so you know, average cost of those workbooks with any of our competitors, I think sits at about $20 to $40 per book. Impact does everything here at cost. So our workbooks are $5 a piece, for as many as you need. And then let's talk a little bit about something that I'm going to kind of get into these questions over here, because I think you kind of touched on that, and that is, the why. For everybody listening, they're either using some other workshop process right now. So they're kind of seeing, okay, well, what is Impact doing and what is David doing versus what I'm doing? And then the other side is they're probably doing dinner seminars, or they've even given up on dinner seminars and they're looking for something, or they're just that advisor that's always open. Why would someone look at that? What was it that you saw in both of y'all's opinion? Because I think on the back end and the front end, I'd love to know, why did dinner seminars feel, it sounds like it was really the quality, but kind of go through why you feel like this is so much better in your opinion.
Well, anybody who sees an advertisement on social media for a retirement event, they're looking for answers.
Okay.
And most of the people are in retirement or near retirement. I know at our workshop we had this past Tuesday, we had 8 people ask for appointments, and one guy had retired 2 months ago, and he's at a dilemma with what to do with his 401k. Should I leave it with my employer? Should I move it? Should I leave it in the stock market? Should I do something safe? And during the 3-hour process, we talk about the stock market and the volatility of the market, and we also talk about if there's a drawdown in the market and you're pulling money out of your retirement funds, there's a possibility that you could go broke before you die. And everybody that I've talked to, the biggest fear that they have is outliving their money.
Right.
And with annuities structured properly, they will never outlive their funds. And if they died early, guess who reaps the rewards of their hard work? Their spouse or their children.
So you're answering a very big need that seems to be the consistent need of people that as they get closer to retirement. And the workshop really, as you mentioned there, 2 to 3 hours, right? It seems like a lot of time. But on the back end of that, Ms. Edward, do you feel like you're seeing better leads on the appointments and more people coming to fruition for David?
Absolutely. More people are making appointments. With the dinner workshop or seminars, they were basically coming for a free meal. I mean, we would get 1 or 2 appointments, and then sometimes they wouldn't even show up for the actual appointment.
Right. So more law of average, where you're just getting more people, but quality.
Right, and I think because they're giving that 2 to 3 hours of time, they're there for a reason to learn, and they want to make the appointment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why, here at Impact, we've seen about 60 advisors now move to, I think we're over 100 now using the ARI workshop program around the country. It definitely has its merit. And so there's a lot of questions. So I'm going to kind of get into this. I've been given this round robin. So I'm going to kind of fire some good questions at you guys that I was sent in that really advisors are asking. What if they look at this program, what are they thinking? And so the first is, we just covered why educational workshops over dinner seminars. So real recap over that, short and over that. It seems like big fall off on conversion. And then it was a program that seemed to be more dying than rising. And so you guys, as a business owner, you have to look for a new lead generation alternative. And I think, I remember when we came on, we did some rebranding and we kind of worked on the foundation stuff. But then it's, okay, what's the next lead generation program? And then boom, here we have the workshops. How do you guys build a strategy when you're already established in a practice to accommodate, working on these seminars into what you're already doing? So you've got this, for some of our advisors listening, they've already got kind of a machine built. How would you put in, with you guys doing dinner seminars, how did you work in the workshops to test it? And then how did you come to the realization? Was it just after the first one, this is better, we're rolling with it? How did you guys decide how to move forward?
Well, we've done 4. And the first 4 that we've done, it's been a Tuesday and Thursday of the same week.
Okay.
And that means that we have to allocate 2 of our 5 days in the office to dinner seminars. And if you're not going to get back, you drive 20 miles to the event, and then you finish at 8:30 and you pack up and you drive home, you get home at 10, that makes for a long day. So what we're going to do to tweak the process is we're doing 1-day events instead of 2-day events. And instead of doing Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to start doing every Tuesday.
Okay.
So we will have 2 events per month, but 4 Tuesdays a month, we're going to be presenting the workshop to people who have an interest to be there.
We've found that by Thursday, people are kind of checking out. They're ready for the weekend.
Sure.
So the attendance on Tuesday is much better.
That's great to hear, because I think there's some advisors doing it on the weekend. There's some advisors kind of testing days. You guys are doing a couple things that are different that you've kind of found through polishing the process. So again, I think that's really good. I caught you guys right before you came in here. You're talking to Miss Amber, who is here. The way it works is, yes, you've got Jared, as you mentioned, he's your point of contact. I think for most people working with an IMO, they call those their marketers, and that ends up being a product specialist. Well, here you actually work with a marketer, so you have Amber, who you can polish this program up with, and will customize it. I think that's the beautiful thing of what we do is not try to force the Bales to be 5 other advisors. We accentuate what you guys want. And as you kind of try these programs, because there's a lot out there that are charging for coming to class, and there's some that aren't. You guys kind of done both. You started out charging, now you're not. And I'm sure you have a good reason for that. And so it's probably business related, right? And so you have to kind of continue to polish that process. And so in your opinion, what do you see are the main pros to doing this program? And then what are the cons? Let's be honest.
Well, I would say the cons are it's the drop-off. To give you a good example, and Deborah has the stats, Deborah, tell them how many people had signed up, how many people actually showed up this week.
Well, on actually last night, we had 19 people that had registered. 11 people confirmed that they were going to be there, and we only had 6 show up, which was 4 buy-in units. We did get 2 appointments, so we got 50% of the buy-in units that were there. So a lot of people will register, and even when I call them, they will confirm, but then they don't, something better comes up and they don't show up.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest con that I see.
And that was on Thursday. Now Tuesday, we have more people that always come on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I think we had.
Well, on Tuesday, we had 27 people that registered. 15 people actually showed up. 11 buy-in units and 8 appointments.
So that's basically by researching the data and working with it. It's not canceling a program, because if you look at Thursday, okay, well, if we just base it off Thursday, maybe it's not as successful as we think it is. But yet we look at a Tuesday, and now we're going, wow, okay, we're doing really well on Tuesday. So now that's kind of the idea of getting rid of Thursday.
Well, it is, and it also gives us time to work during the week.
Right.
If you allocate 2 days, and usually Friday's kind of an office day in the morning and golf in the afternoon, and what we're trying to do is utilize the time that we've allocated to work and to work more efficiently. And the case sizes that we've found, through these retirement workshops is larger than what you would get at a dinner event.
And I just want to compliment you guys for being so candid and honest, because I think a lot of, if you've listened to Impact webinars before, you've seen our marketing, and David, these men and women out there, that we do have advisors doing $100 million of production. We do have advisors doing over $100 million of production with no downline. They tend to have a unique mindset, a unique market. I think of like Chris here. He's got that total world domination mindset. You guys have a great practice. You have a great lifestyle. You have a work-life balance. And you kind of are in the niche that you want to be. And that may be doing maybe $8 or more million in production this year, which is going to put you in the top 3% of the industry. So very successful. Do you feel like you have to go big to these 80 numbers? Because I think a lot of people listen and think they hear that and they're like, I've got to do that. No, I think you can be very happy with a good ROI, with good client acquisition costs and a work-life balance, and be successful. And that seems like where you guys really, it's not about doing 20 and 30 million for you. It's more about just making good money and being able to be together.
I think at this stage, we're doing exactly what we want to do at this stage in our life, because we do our traveling and enjoy all of our grandkids, and but we work hard when we're working.
Absolutely. And the fact that you have success at the office and not so much struggle allows you to travel more freely and to do those things. So for you listening, if you're dealing with struggles or any adversity, this is a life changer, and you don't have to do $100 million. You can just have a very successful practice with a great return on investment and a good lifestyle. And that regardless of whatever marketing you do. Now, one thing I'm also seeing is we do radio and television a lot. It seems like we're seeing a trend, as we've looked at it over the years, of digital being very comparable to a radio show, in the sense that it takes time to build your listener and your audience. Because the first time you run a campaign, no one knows who you are. You're just out there and they're like, oh, yeah, retirement. It's kind of a guess game. That's where I think you see a lot of fall off in the beginning. And I think as you dial the process back, what we've seen with other advisors is the more they stay dedicated to it, 7, 8 now campaigns deep, people are starting to resonate because we're using the same marketing. So we do hear a little unique style. I know for you, those of you using a vendor, you kind of lose control of that. But at Impact, we have designated Facebook, what they call certified Facebook advertisers. Those people are the ones putting the campaigns up. They're watching them 100% of the time. They're switching them if they don't work. If you guys are seeing an attendance problem, that's where we're talking and kind of polishing that up. And you guys now, you've went from a 2-day to a 1-day event. So you're just doing a 1-day training. You're not currently charging to come because you've seen a better response from not charging than the charging, and really going to a Tuesday because you feel like Thursday and later we're seeing some fall off. And so that's really kind of where you found the sweet spot. Is that a good recap for everybody?
It is.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, next big question for you. And this is one no one really talks about. You don't ever hear IMOs talking about return on investment, right? Because they outsource to the vendors and leave it kind of to the entrepreneur, the business owner to deal with. But have you had a good ROI? Have you had a good return on investment from doing these workshops?
What would you consider a good return?
Well, I'm pretty competitive, so I like to see, at least me cover my expenses and make some money. But no, I think, for me, it's got to show growth and potential.
Well, we've spent $20,000 on the 4 workshops that we've done.
Okay.
And the commission that we have generated is $119,000.
Wow.
So that's almost 600% increase.
Yeah.
And I would say that the ROI has been very good. And probably half our business that we write every year comes from referrals from existing customers.
Right.
Or Deborah will be working with a school teacher and she says, I just inherited my dad's IRA. What do I need to do with it? Or my husband just lost his job. What do we need to do with his 401k? Or, my husband's a golf pro and he just went from one club to another. He doesn't have a pension plan. What can you do? So we generate maybe half our income there. And our marketing strategy from this point forward is only going to be to do workshops. I'm a former football coach and teacher in high school and, been in the insurance business since 1987, went to law school, never really practiced, but it has given me the ability to kind of look at all different aspects of a financial picture. And what we try to do is solve for the pitfalls. And the biggest pitfall that I see that's not covered by anything out there is some type of devastating illness as you get older in long-term care, that can devastate your financial picture. So we talk about that. We don't always sell products to cover that because long-term care now is harder to get. And if you need it, you can't qualify for it. And then you could utilize annuities that have an income doubler. I just met with a guy last week. His wife's been diagnosed with Parkinson's. He's got about $650,000 in his 401k, and he needs to take out $35 a year. Well, I talked to Jared, and Jared got me 5 different proposals. He did talk to the companies, and even though she's been diagnosed with Parkinson's, she would still be able to file a claim since it's a joint payout. Mm-hmm. And then if she got sick and had to have assistance, their income's going to go from 35 to 70, and they can use that money to offset long-term care expenses. So you don't always have to have an insurance policy to do it. I know there's some great policies out there now that have accelerated benefits for life insurance, but sometimes people can't qualify for those later in years, and so they have to go to their income streams. And I don't know of another investment out there. If you're taking dividends off your stock portfolio, it's not going to double if you get sick.
It's true.
And the value could decrease if we have a market correction, and CDs at the bank are as low as they've ever been. Bond rates are as low as they've ever been. So there's really not another vehicle out there that people can use other than some type of an annuity with an income rider.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of talk right now, right? There's a lot of talk about recession. There's a lot of talk about, the markets being hurt, inverted yield curves. There's a lot of scary things to people that aren't. It's scary if you know what you're talking about, and it's really scary if you don't know what you're talking about because everything sounds negative out there. But I think what you're bringing up is you have a great product for the right fit And right now, annuities fit a lot of people's needs. I think what's great with a workshop too, right? I think you guys see this, is it as a fiduciary, you have to do what's responsible for your client, right? You have a fiduciary responsibility. That could be selling whatever's the right fit. It just seems like these workshops are really driving at what I think advisors want, and that's the right demographic to put the right products in front of. And then with options, there's a lot of different options, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head right now. And there's a great need for seniors transferring wealth and avoiding taxes and run out and all that stuff.
Well, and what we're seeing, if somebody has a portfolio balance of $25 million, they're probably not going to come to my seminar, And the people who come, and I always make this statement because there's consumer advocates in our city that really talk bad about annuities. And I always bring that up. I say, if you listen to so-and-so on the radio or you read this other book by this other author, they're not going to be very nice with annuities. And I'm going to tell you why. I've played golf with the radio guy before, and we discussed it in my golf cart for 9 holes. And he has 25 million reasons that he doesn't like annuities because $25 million is in the market. Now, on the other hand, if all you have is $600,000, you don't have 25 million reasons. And you've got to make sure that $600,000 is going to last 30 years in retirement. That's my fiduciary responsibility. If a couple's 65, there's a 50% chance that one of them will live to be in their 90s. So I've got to plan for my wife and my personal plan. She's younger than me. I've got a plan that if she lived into her 90s, she's not going to run out of money. And you can't do that with a smaller amount of money.
Well, and you see, too, kind of getting back to just why these workshops seem to be working so well, is those are all very real questions at this time. People just are, and then with the presidential side, there's just a lot of questions, which I think goes to you being a football coach and a teacher. The college workshop, if you like teaching, if you like pouring knowledge into others, if you like benefiting people, this is a good program, right?
Absolutely, and he does a great job. He's very comfortable teaching.
Right. Well, and I played football for a long time, so he made me do some burpees before we came in here. So he still has that coaching aspect as well. I'm going to be sore all week because of that. So thanks, David. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, we mentioned it, but average case size. You guys mentioned, I think used to you were seeing about 181 on average, but lately with kind of some tweaks and what you've been doing, you're at like 260,000 average case size right now from these workshops.
We are. The smallest case we wrote at the workshop was 90,000. The largest was 900,000. So, you don't get a 900,000 at every workshop, but most of the people that we run into have at least 2 to 3 to 400,000, somewhere between 2 and 4 in qualified funds. And we don't always work with all of it. What we do is we try to solve their income gap. If they have Social Security, that's one leg. If they have a pension, that's leg number 2. And let's say they've got a gap of 30,000. Well, how much does it take of your nest egg to produce a $30,000 income? And that's where we invest that in an annuity. And then if they have 100,000 or 200,000 left, we try to leave that liquid. They've got to take required minimum distributions anyway when they're 70, but they also need something that's liquid that they could fall back on if they have a long-term illness. So it's important to make sure that their money is utilized. And then what happens if you die early? If you have a pension plan, it stops. But if you have your money in an annuity and you die early, guess who reaps the benefits? It's your children. They are able to inherit your qualified funds, and it bypasses probate. So, it's a great selling point.
It's a great product. It really is. You guys are doing a phenomenal thing out there. And if we remember 08, I don't have any mad annuity clients from 08. They seem to be the happiest ones because everybody lost a ton of retirement money. So I think we're doing a great thing. You guys are doing a great thing out there in the field. But let me just recap this. We've got about 10, 15 more minutes left in the webinar. Appreciate you sitting in and listening. If you have any questions on this workshop, if you'd like to know more about the workbooks, how to take part in this process, this is a very exclusive process. ARI is only offered here by Impact. It's the only one of its kind. The costs are unmatchable, and then the quality, as you'll see, is just unbelievable. And that's why we're so blessed to have the Bales here talking today about just what we've been able to do with them. So call 1-800-380-5040. That's 1-800-380-5040 for the details. Talk to one of our consultants here. See if it's a good fit for you. We are not a recruit everybody agency. We're more boutique. So we'd like to find out about you, find out about your practice. And if we can earn your business and solve some real problems with real solutions, we'd love to work with you. So give us a call and stay on till the end, because at the end I've got a very special gift I'm going to make sure that everybody knows, and we want to offer this to get you motivated and to help you through this transitional period. Now, for those listening, let me recap this real quick. College workshop, should I do it or not? Well, if you listen to the Bales, what I've heard is, and guys, jump in if I'm wrong, higher case sizes. Average case sizes jumped up from 181 to 260. The ROI is somewhere around 600% better, and you're seeing a 600% increase in that. And then less work on the front end. So dinner seminars were kind of a drawl and, a setup and a process, and it was eating into more of your personal time. So you have a better work-life balance. And then less wasted time. And that's the one thing I think, when you become successful, I just hit 43 2 weeks ago. I'm feeling, like I've been starting to watch Matlock and Golden Girls a lot more lately. And I think I realized, you know what? Time is it. You can make more money, but I don't know anybody that's got a ton of money asking for more money when they're close to death. They're just looking for more time. And so I think it's amazing what you guys have done, that this has been able to solve that need for you guys. And you guys have seen a good work-life balance. You mentioned traveling to see. How many grandkids you got?
We have 12.
12 grandkids. So obviously they need a little bit more than 1 week a year to go out and see the grandkids. Right. So the fact that you've got that dialed, I think is awesome. And I've just got a last couple of questions before we wrap up. David, what are really the topics you're working for the workshop? As you kind of have this education, what is it? Are you just out there saying we're selling an annuity? Is it retirement? What's kind of been your topics?
Well, there's really no product topic to begin with, and there's 5 areas that we discuss in the workshop. And the first thing that we discuss is the new tax bill of 2017, and then we go into Social Security, because that's one leg of your retirement income. And then we talk about pensions, and then we talk about long-term care, why you need long-term care, how much it costs for somebody age 65 in health cost. It's about $280,000 between age 65 and the time you die. That's what you're going to spend for health care. Where's that money coming from? Okay, is it coming from your 401k? Is it coming from your income? Have you set money aside for that? Because Medicare does not cover that. Health insurance does not cover that. So you have to set that money aside. And then we talk about income streams. The most important thing to me is when you're working, you've lived on a budget. Deborah and I live on a budget, and some months it's more and some months it's less, but we have a number that we live on. And when you retire, you're still going to have a budget. I don't care if you have no automobiles payments, no mortgage payments, you still have taxes, you still have to eat. You're going to need a new roof on the house at some point in time.
Whoa, David, wait a minute. I thought when I paid off my car and my house, I didn't owe anybody any money.
Well, you don't owe anybody money, but your expenses continue.
Oh.
You got to remember that. I want you to think back 20 years ago, how much do you pay for your first car?
Oh, my dad's listening somewhere. It was probably $16,000, something like that.
Okay, and how much would that same car cost today?
Probably low 30s.
Okay.
High 20s.
It has increased.
Absolutely.
Okay. Taxes increased.
Yeah.
We have the lowest taxes today in the history of the United States, and more debt. Social Security has issues. In 2034, it's going to drop by 25% if something is not done. I've written my congressman. I got his letter back. I get letters all the time, and it will be addressed. It will be tweaked, but Social Security for my generation is going to be different than yours.
Absolutely.
And some of the benefits are going to be cut out. So we have to think about those things, and we have to look at income streams. 50% of the people that we see do not have pensions. So if you don't have pensions, you've got Social Security and 401k, or money you've saved, or you have rental property. But we have to, when I look at the big picture, I look at your budget today. I'm going to try to get at least 80 to 90% of your budget today for your retired budget. I'm going to look at how much is guaranteed. Do you have a pension? Is that guaranteed? It's guaranteed as long as the company you work for is in business. Ask somebody that worked for Delta Airlines what happened to their pension, or General Motors, or American Airlines, and a lot of the other airlines that went bankrupt, or Chrysler. They lost their pensions, and the PBGC doesn't cover it 100%. It only covers it about 30 cents on the dollar. So you have to look for income streams. So Social Security is one. If you have a pension, that's two. So let's say both of those are $60,000 a year, and you need 80. Where's that 20 coming from? It's coming from your 401k or your IRA.
So what have you seen, based on all that knowledge for our listeners, is there one topic you feel is like, if you've got one chance to make this event work, what topic are you rolling with?
Income.
Lifetime income. That's the most important thing that I preach. And also we have a chart that goes back from 2000 to 2019 that shows if you had your money in an S&P mutual fund and you're withdrawing 5%, how much you would have left in 2019 if you've taken, and then there's only, in that 19 years, there's only been 5 down years.
Right.
And you start off at 250, you're taking 12.5 out. In 2019, you have 9,000 left. If I take the negatives away and give you zeros and only pay you 50% of the market, you're going to have 203,000. So you tell me, Brandon, what would you rather have? 203,000 in your 401k or 9?
I'm going to take the 200,000.
Yeah,
plus.
you're going to take the 203 because if you got it with a brokerage account,
right?
I can't call Merrill Lynch and say I only have 9,000, but I need that 12.5.
Yeah, it don't work that way, does it?
I can't call the bank and say I need 12.5 and I've only got 9,000. But with an annuity, you can have lifetime income. Even if the account value goes to zero, guess what they have to do? They have to continue to pay you. And to me, that's security.
Absolutely. And so, okay, we're talking about some things there that sound great. But if I'm a senior and I'm uneducated, I'm not a financial advisor, or I'm not an expert in the field because I'm around it all the time, it sounds a little sketchy. And it sounds like, could it help me? Could it hurt me? What materials is Impact and the ARI program providing you that helps with kind of assisting you in that education and showing kind of the credibility of what you're talking about?
Well, the first time we meet, I mean, they've heard me for 2.5 hours.
Right.
And I've either been credible or I haven't.
And you use a workbook inside those?
It's like a 60-page workbook, and Deborah sits there, and if I start talking about the RMD distribution table, she says it's on page 66. Or if we're talking about something else, she says that's on page 12. And the people are looking at it, and they're writing notes. And then when we get to the charts and I show them that if you've got your money in the market and history repeats itself,
right,
and you can go back to 1870, and there's been 5 bull markets and 5 bear markets, and the average bull market lasts for 9.5 years, and we're in the year 10. I don't know when the correction's coming, but it's coming.
It's coming, right? So, Miss Deborah, let me ask you this. Why do you feel, so David's covering things up here, educating and teaching. Why do you feel it's crucial to yell out or to explain what page that's on? What do you think that does for the consumer when they go to a workbook, hear what David's saying, and then can follow along inside?
Well, I think, number one, they see that we are a team. We're both into this. I think it's important that they actually can open their book and look at it and follow it. And I think that just helps them understand it more.
We tend to be a little bit of a seeing is believing population, right? And so just to work alongside, to see what David's saying, be in the workbook. And then, for those of y'all that don't know, we've made a national brand of ARI. So there is a benefit of saying, hey, we are working with a national institute opposed to just some random vendor or even sometimes creating them yourself and not having the quality or credibility behind that. Now, have you used your Forbes article at all? And is that working inside the program? Do you use that at all?
I don't use the Forbes article in the program. Now, when I meet with the clients, I show them the Forbes article.
Okay.
And the first time that we meet, and I've got 5 appointments, and our workshop this week was 50 miles from my office, so I'm going to meet them in Gainesville. I'm actually going to meet them at Atlanta Bread. And Deborah books my appointments, and this is the first appointment. And Deborah tells them, you're going to meet with David at 2 o'clock. Bring everything you've got. Just let him look at it.
And the only thing I'm going to do at that meeting is very non-threatening. I'm just going to say, Brandon, let me see what you've got. And I make notes and write down what you've got. Then I'll say, what do you want to accomplish? And you tell me, and I'm going to say, how are you going to get there? And they kind of look like a deer in the headlights.
Right.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's why I'm here. And then I'll just say, I can help you. And if you want me to take all this back to my office and do a plan for you, I will do it.
Right.
But you got to drive to my office next meeting.
Right.
And they either say yes or no.
Yeah.
And if they come back, they're sold.
They're sold. Yeah, I think one of our good advisors, John, out of Louisville, Kentucky, he explained it a very good way. He said, I teach them everything they need to do to a point they realize they don't want to do it. They want to pay me to do it. Yeah. And I think that's a great thing that he's not asking for the sale. You're not asking for the sale in the workshop. It's more education-based. And if you want my help, here it is. And that kind of takes the car sales out of it. It kind of takes a lot of times with the dinner seminars, a lot of advisors feel like, you know what, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more professional way.
Well, and when they come to the office, we have a bound presentation that's about 30 pages. It's got copies of all their brokerage statements.
Right.
It's got their Social Security statement. It's got their pension statement. And then there's a spreadsheet that says, this is what you're going to get every month from Social Security, and we do this until they're 90. This is what you're going to get from your pension. This is what you're going to get from your annuity. If you choose to put some of your money in an annuity, this is what you're going to get from what's left over. And you add those things together, and I just show them, exactly what their income's going to be for the next 30 years. And it kind of closes itself.
Sure.
It's not something that I have to reach over and, kind of put the hard squeeze on them. I say, look, does this look good? And they 80% of the time say, yeah, it looks great. And I'll say, are you ready to move forward? And most of them are. And some of them will say, well, I'd like to maybe look at this or look at that. And, that's another appointment. I'm not there to close you the third time we see each other.
Right.
I want to do it.
Right.
But what if it takes 4 or 5 times? I'm willing to invest the time in my customers when they leave my office and they've signed an application and I'm moving their money, that they feel good about it.
Well, and I didn't mean to cut you off there. I wanted to say, but you've got to feel good about it too. You're doing a great thing for your customer, but is the ROI there? Is the client? I mean, when you're seeing what you're seeing, it seems like a perfect marriage. You've got better return on investment, better work-life balance, better clients. You're seeing an average. I think we looked at the math of it, an average of about 56 registrants, even though we've had the different days. But I mean, you're getting people to notice, and it's growing. So for you, it seems like, yes, you're helping the client, but if I can be a little selfish for y'all right now, it's also working very well for y'all. You're not feeling like you're having to stand up there and sell somebody at a carnival. You're also able to do what you love, which is teach, because that's in your blood. And I agree. I mean, like I said, he's just wired that way. And I think some advisors they have a past in teaching. They have a past in coaching. They have a past in a couple of attorneys, right? And so this might be a great mindset shift for them because it allows them to feel really good. And then I just love hearing how happy you guys are between traveling with the grandkids and the business and kind of just the way you describe the process. You can see you're passionate about what you're doing. So I have no doubt the clients, when they come to these events, because you're happier, because things are going well, and this is really in your ballpark, it sounds like it's probably the best kind of fit for you, which is why you guys are moving full on workshops. I got one last question. We've got about 3 minutes before we wrap up, and I'll close the show with a big win for anybody that wants to take advantage of it. You mentioned post-appointment process. So you get them set up. Ms. Deborah, you're calling. You're getting them set up at the event. First appointment is wherever the event was held. Second appointment comes back to the office. If they come to the office, they're closed. If there are other advisors, like you guys are one of our advisors here in the Atlanta market, did you worry about that? And then is there any concern for our advisors listening, getting started on creating their own college workshop in their process and their brand, or do you feel like there's some challenges inside that?
I've had people that write business with me that have been to other workshops. And I've had people that when Deborah calls back, they say, oh, we saw this other guy, we like him. It's all about numbers. It's all about numbers. And I can tell you this, the further you get away from the perimeter, the better the workshops are. because everybody, like we live in Forsyth County, one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Georgia. And on my iPhone, every day there's a workshop held at the local community college and the local college. And if we did one in, say, Marietta, it's the same way. So, but if you get 15, 20, 30 miles outside the perimeter, people aren't hit as much. And those are the people, more blue-collar workers that have pension plans or they worked hard all their life to save. And they are the ones that I see in our practice that we're really helping.
And Brandon, I want to say that I think the follow-up is extremely important. I had one gentleman that had actually confirmed, and he didn't show up. So the next day I called him and told him that we were sorry he wasn't able to attend. And he was very emotional. His wife has severe cancer, and she had a really bad day, and this was the second time he tried to attend the workshop. So I told him, I said, what if we just meet you one-on-one at a convenient time for you? And David has an appointment with him next week.
That's awesome. And also kudos to you for having a heart. We're in sales. We got to make our money. We got to make our ROIs, but we're also dealing with humans. And some of those people, I lost my mom to cancer a few years ago. And so whether you're dealing with a client with Parkinson's or you have cancer, in these senior years, unfortunately, the health is also at its weakest. And you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with pain, a lot of struggle.
And I feel like in this business, you have to have a heart.
Oh, agreed. And I think your clients resonate with that. We try to really sell here, and you guys were a perfect fit for us when we saw that early on. We believe in a relationship style practice, not a transactional one. And that's why you get so many referrals. You mentioned that being 50% of your business as well. So that's amazing. And thank you guys for that. I think if you're looking for a program, if you're either exhausted with dinner seminars, maybe that's the only lead generation strategy you do, and you need to have multiple legs, whether you're frustrated, whether you're tired, whether the results aren't good, there's some options here. And I think, David, thanks for mentioning kind of just how you even use the Forbes article, because I challenge you guys, just like I would challenge any of our clients here. A saturated market doesn't mean you can't be successful. It's saturated because it is successful. It's how you stand out in that saturated market that truly matters. And so, one, the quality and credibility of this couple in front of me is through the roof. So if if anyone researches them, it's going to be great. They've serviced their clients well for all these years. They're easy to make look beautiful. They're easy to make look like they're top of the line, because they are. But the Forbes article, that's one that you don't have to go get. You would have to spend, $8,000 to $10,000 to get published in Forbes. Typically it sits in a nightstand on a dentist chair, something like that. Here, come and call and find out what we're doing with Forbes. We created a very living and breathing relationship with them. As you mentioned, David uses it in his first appointments. A lot of people use their Forbes because it stands out. I think the workbook quality that you guys are presenting, right? You mentioned using it a lot. It's a really sharp workbook. It looks professional. It's easy to follow. And I think everything you hand your clients defines you. So if you hear anything I say, define yourself, because if you don't, your competitors are trying to define you every day. And so make sure that what you hand your clients, what you put in front of your clients, that is defining you and your brand. And so if you feel like you fit well with what the Bales have talked about and you feel like you resonate with that message, man, there's a way to build that brand that accentuates your beliefs and your customer experience. And then I think if you're doing $15, $20, $30 million of production and you've leveled out and you've hit the glass ceiling, there's some innovation that you can do as well. And it just means getting in front of the right people. That seems like at the end of the day, it's not the workshop. It's nothing other than getting in front of the right people and being able to help your clients as a fiduciary. So thank you guys for sharing with us today. I just appreciate y'all so much as clients, but for our listeners, they didn't ask for anything. They literally just came in and shared their story with us. And man, I couldn't be more appreciative of that. So thank you guys.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Man, I tell you what, I'm excited to watch what happens over the next year with you guys as you build this out. And for our listeners, now is the time. If you would like this experience, if you would like this opportunity, reach up, pick up the phone, 1-800-380-5040. Call and speak to one of our consultants here. Find out what is a good fit for us, and if we're a good fit for you, find out what this program we're talking about is and all the details. They know every single aspect of it. But I would challenge you, if you are stuck, if you are looking at consistent production or even the worst, lower production annually, get off your tail and call us. To help you out, we're going to make a challenge. And this is some challenge that we have extended recently just to this group of listeners and an event we've got coming up for the next foreseeable future. Call 1-800-380-5040. Talk to us. Find out how we are right now doing what no one in the country will do. And that is guaranteeing you'll double your practice in 12 months, or we'll put a very large amount of money on that. Call to find out how much money we're willing to put up. But if you don't double your practice in 12 months doing exactly what we tell you to do, then we will pay you. Is anybody offering you that? Is anyone asking you? Does anyone have the faith in their practice to do that? I don't hear that out there in the market. So call and find out what we're talking about. Find out how we're going to do that, because again, this is a phenomenal opportunity. It doesn't matter what level of production you're at. You can grow, you can increase, and you can have the same work-life balance, joy, and success that the Bales are having here. So thank you for listening. Next month, we're going to have an even better topic and show. As we get better, I get better. The Bales made me better today. So thank you all so much. And just have a great weekend, everybody. God bless. Take care and be successful.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.